So Luke, your 10 rules of DJing, your first one is command the troops. So what does that mean?
It means picture yourself as someone that needs to take the whole vibe and the crowd to another level. And how do you do that? Well, first of all, you are in control. And what I often do on stage is I massage pockets of people, flocks of people. I'll see a group of people there that like this type of music, and I'll give them that. And then a group of people over there, and I'll give them that. And so I get everyone aligned and in the mood at a certain point, so I can bring those big tracks that I love and that I can play to lift everything up.
So it's a case of kind of coming in with a plan, but you're never sure what you're going to get until you get there, right? So reacting on your feet.
That's right. There's a bunch of rules that I apply during my sets. So if you want to lift the vibe up, try and play 50% of what the crowd wants. I'll keep myself happy, and 50% of that is the music that I would love to hear while I DJ. And I have one golden rule, is that never play anything you don't like. So that has worked for me over the years. And within that, you still are, very much into what you're doing, even though you're playing for them, playing for you. The most important thing is empowerment in this. I want you to feel in control of the crowd, and it's a privilege to be able to play the music you love. You can totally be selfish with that, and I think that's the beauty of DJing.
So you don't like seeing DJs clearly playing stuff that they're just not interested in, right? That's, to you, that's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, you need to keep the passion alive within yourself as well. So if you play music you're not really into, that will alter your appearance as well. So, throwing in a track and it's like, oh man, I really don't feel this. Instead of throwing in a track they want and you feel it with them, it's a very different feeling.
So, command your troops. So Luke, your second rule is never play the same set twice, which I would have to say I think is quite unusual for DJs at your level. You often hear DJs playing the same set over and over again. So what's this one about? I've
had a little bit of a discussion with my fellow DJs. The thing is, I wouldn't even call them DJs. They are artists and they see performing as more of a concert type of deal. And I want to get out of that, especially in this course. I'd want you to learn things, how a real DJ would tackle this. And so it's a little game that I've been playing with myself for over these decades, just to keep me involved and active in what I'm doing. So never play the same set. I have a very simple rule for that. So if I have a combination that I've played at a certain venue and works perfectly and it's great, it's out there, it's on 1001 track lists and everything, everyone can see it. I often take that combination apart and will set myself to put another track in between that combination. So if you have that combo, what you could do is you can, the one day you can play this track in between, but the other day you can play that track in between, and the combo is still kind of intact. Now, if from that you get another combo, then you can break that apart. And so it's almost like shuffling a deck of cards. This is how I see my whole record collection. And since you have that many cards, why not keep yourself involved and active and always come up with a creative solution to play a different set?
So, never play the same set twice. So Luke, rule number 3, elements over key. Tell us.
Absolutely. The key matching has become the holy grail, it seems, of mixing. And this is simply not true. Maybe for radio purposes or driving in your car purposes, but for a dance floor, I would always choose elements over key. Within the elements, there's the energy, the dance floor energy. Just because some tracks match in a certain key doesn't mean they are meant to be mixed with each other. For instance, we have the genre, deep house, big room into deep house. They be matching in key, but in terms of energy, you'll have a drop. And so this is why I choose energy and elements over my dance floor. And this could include using DJ effects. You're going to see using rhythm patterns. You're going to use using similar genres and elements in this course as well, where we make sure you understand this rule.
So it's about the right track next, not quickly looking at everything in the same key and picking only from that small number of tunes, right?
That's right. It's way bigger than just the key.
Okay. So rule number 4, because people will be thinking, oh, he doesn't care about the music side of things. Rule number 4 is another key rule. So you do care very much, because your rule number 4 is if it's in key, mix long, and if it's out of key, mix short, right? So explain where this came from and again, why it's important.
It's a very simple rule and a very old school type of rule, where this came actually from vinyl mixing, where we didn't have the BPM on screen or the key or anything, so you'd have to do everything by ear, and it was very simple. If the mix sounded good, let it play, let it weave into each other, and if something is off key, make the mix short, get out of there.
Okay, and that empowers you to do it in the first place, because guess what, you're doing it, it's not going to be one that you want to carry on for a minute, so get out of there and do something else.
That's right.
Great, so rule number 4, in key long, out of key short. Rule number 5, Luke, grab the decks. You're a vinyl DJ, you've come from that background. Explain why it's important.
That's right. Nowadays a lot of people put the decks on CDJ mode, and for me it kind of feels as if I am not in control over the music. If I can grab the music using my jog wheels, I can put in the track wherever I want. But what often people don't understand is that there's a whole ton of effects that you can actually add on to your music using the jogs. Obviously this gets more in the scratching type of realm, but for instance, just a simple backspin you can't put under a button. And that's just one of the many examples we have in this course as well, where you can learn on what the benefit is on touching the music. It's also about empowerment. I want you to feel in control of the music. So when the music plays, you are right there to manipulate it however you want it.
It's one of the big ways of doing it, isn't it? And it's one of the things that I think as a digital DJ school, we've seen DJs who haven't come through vinyl finding it that much harder to do what you're talking about, because they haven't got there was no other way of putting music on with a record deck. You had to manipulate the deck. So it was kind of like not even thought about. And I think it's important, if you haven't come from that background, to understand this.
Exactly. And you're absolutely right, Phil. It is a little bit hard, but that's why I want to teach you, because when you have it, it's awesome. You'd never want to let it go.
So rule number 6, if you make a mistake, own it.
Yeah, it gets tricky, because when you start manipulating the music, this leaves room for a lot of error, and sometimes things go wrong. If you make a mistake, do it 2 or 3 more times after that.
So if I knock my beer on the decks, I've got to knock a couple more people's what kind of mistake are we talking about here?
Yeah, so it's just the small ones where you take the fader out at the wrong time. You can totally do that 2 or 3 more times to own that mistake, instead of just going like whoops, or maybe you get like real sad that you made a mistake and it's like, oh, what did I do? Never do that. Like, okay. Make sure to keep in control, and I would absolutely choose this, hearing the little mistakes, hearing the live element in there, than a fabricated mix or mashup on the computer.
So there's a good point here, in that a lot of times nowadays, the DJ gear, and we've been talking about this so far and we will do again, the DJ gear kind of encourages you to keep everything clinical, and a lot of the time the crowd are like, are they actually doing anything up there? And what you're saying is it's much better to hear evidence that they are, and actually that doesn't have to be a bad thing.
Yeah, that's right. What the problem is with clinical is that it leaves out character or your own imprint, and I love hearing DJs at work.
Great. So Luke, rule number 7 is set to manual. Can I be the one to do this?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Turn those sync buttons off. Explain this one.
So in this course, we're taking the training wheels off. I really want you to get used to not utilizing the sync as much as you think you need to. In this course, we are going to use sync just as a little tool, as a little bystander help. And I feel, Phil, you had an awesome analogy with...
Well, yeah, I just feel you wouldn't expect a Formula One driver to switch on the kind of Tesla auto drive mode or turn on automatic for the gears instead of using the paddles themselves, right? So it's that kind of thing, isn't it?
So I want you to feel like that Formula One driver where you don't need sync, you're gonna race and you're gonna you are the ones that are driving the music and the music is not driving themselves, and this will empower you.
Okay, so rule number 7 is set to manual. So Luke, rule number 8, always think, what should I do next? So explain this one.
Yeah, in my decades of DJing, this has been the reoccurring thing and the pivotal rule I have while DJing, while playing. So it ties into what should I play next? I monitor the crowd, I watch them, and the ongoing question is, what should I play next? But then within that, what should I do next? Can I grab a loop here? Can I go to this element? Can I put some effects in here? And this really keeps me busy all the time.
You are busy all the time. You never stop. You're not one of these DJs that mixes something in and then kind of takes a step back and then it's, hey, 2.5 minutes have gone. I better come. That's not you, is it?
No. And the thing is, when the track is playing, that's set in stone. It's the past. So where to go next?
Okay. So always be thinking, what should I do next? So your rule number 9 builds on rule number 8 because this is about thinking. It's about thinking in what you call clouds. So explain what you mean by this.
Well, I have this certain rule that I always tell my tour managers or photographers, even the promoters of the club, when I am DJing, never tap me on the shoulder because that little cloud or that little bubble will burst. And so what's in that bubble is there's 3 or 4 tracks going around in my head on where to go next or what to do next. And this actually helps me to think ahead. It actually helps me into switching fast or being able to do a lot of live mashups.
So if you were, let's say you mixed a track in out of this little cloud of tracks in your head and they're just not feeling it, that cloud gives you something to do immediately, right? Because you've got this cloud. It's not just, you're not thinking one track ahead, you're thinking in a kind of bubble of tracks.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll have, the third track ready on the third deck or on a layer. And so if I mix something in that doesn't work, I'm able to switch within 10 seconds.
So we've learned not to tap you on the shoulder at any point when you're DJing.
Don't do that. Kung Fu moves might come out.
So Luke, your rule number 10 is don't just show up, turn up.
That's right. So this is more about the performance side of DJing. Apart from all the DJ technicalities, there is a certain point where you'll end up on stage, and within all the DJ tricks we're going to teach you in this course, people are going to look at you. And so what are you going to do? Stand around just being very shy and nervous, or are you actually going to party with the crowd and engage with the crowd? What I often do is when I know that I'll be on a stage and there's going to be a lot of lights in front of me, I'll have a look at how the stage looks like and see the DJ before me perform. And I imagine then when I'm on stage, how would it look like if I was looking at myself right now, and would I enjoy looking at that? And by all means, I'm not saying, go and stand on top of the DJ booth and act like a clown all night. There's a fine line in between being very shy and nervous and actually engaging with the crowd and be there in the music.
So no inflatable penises and standing on top of the speakers and stay somewhere near the decks, right? There's a line.
We have more of this in the course.